today's Rejoice webinar. We are here with Cindy Contreras to talk about the topic of PhD to be, inside the mind of a doctoral student in Counselor Education and Supervision. Thanks for joining us today, Cindy.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. I'm very excited. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, this is your number one podcast, right?
100%. Yeah, top
This
listener
is
on
it.
Spotify.
I bet you wait every third week to see when we're going to put it out.
Yes, I have it on schedule on the calendar, on the remind.
You lie to flatter me. So let me introduce Cindy. Cindy is a licensed professional counselor in the state of Texas. She has a Master of Science in Clinical Mental Health Counseling from the University of St. Thomas. She counsels adolescents, adults, couples, and families, and earned her undergraduate degree from the University of Houston, and has served in a variety of employed and volunteer roles at her home parish of St. Francis de Sales. She enjoys working with a diverse range of ages and cultures, and she has experience working with survivors of trauma and abuse at the Fort Bend Women's Center. Cindy's Catholic faith and her Latino roots are essential to who she is and have played a role in her decision to become a counselor. She wants to advocate for those who have been abused, traumatized, and marginalized, as well as to help alleviate the stigma surrounding mental health. Cindy's fluent in Spanish, and when she's not counseling, she enjoys reading, spending time with loved ones, and exploring new places. Thanks for joining us, Cindy.
Thank you.
So, Latino heritage, what Latino version is that?
Yeah, so we're breaking the wall. A lot of people don't know, but I am Salvadoran roots. So both of my parents were born in El Salvador. I was born here in the United States, but very much still adhere to my Salvadoran culture.
Very cool. When are you making me pupusas?
Well, we can learn together.
Learn together. Oh, Cindy.
I know I'm gonna get my Salvadoran card taken away.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are.
I just learned how to make tamales, so we could start there if you want to. Well, they're Salvadoran tamales. They make them with banana leaf. So
Okay. I thought you were talking about Mexican tamales, which
oh,
there
no.
are all kinds too. So.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah. Well, so tell us, where did you grow up? How many siblings do you have? We'd like to know a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I grew up in Alief, Texas. That's in the southwest of Houston. For anyone that's not familiar, it's right around where Bel Air Chinatown starts. So, born and raised there pretty much. I have one sibling who's older. It's my brother. I love him to bits. So I love that you asked me about him because anytime I get the chance to talk about him, it's a great day. And he's actually a big part of what led me down this journey, including the PhD journey. I still reside in Alief, actually. I kind of really like it. Don't believe what you hear about it in the news.
Yeah, it's on the news a lot.
Yeah, it sure is. Not always for good reasons, but it's awesome. I love like the cultural variety there. You know, when people talk about Houston being a melting pot, I think Alief is so representative of that. And the food is great that you can find there.
Cool. So you grew up in Alief.
Mm-hmm.
What should we know about your family life, maybe, that would lead you to want to have a doctorate? Like as a kid, what did you want to be? What did you imagine? Did you ever think you would get a doctorate?
Yeah. So when I was growing up, what I wanted to do was a medical doctor. I had no idea about psychology, didn't know about counseling, but I always knew that I wanted to be in some sort of helping profession. Doctor was just the one you hear about, doctor or nurse. Um, what Part of what has inspired this has been my love of education, and I attribute that to my parents because of their experience. So both of my parents grew up very low income. Neither of them had the opportunity to have any sort of formal education. The way that the education system was set up over there is that you kind of got a little bit of basics, up to maybe like our equivalent of third grade, and that's it, right? Like the expectation is that you're going out and you're working. And so one thing that I've always admired, that my parents have emphasized, is you have the opportunity here, you know the language, you know the country, you have our support, and so go out and become what you want to become. My dad, he, as I mentioned, did not have an education, but with the knowledge that he picked up of learning how to read, he just picked up any material that he could and learned from there. So he self-taught a lot, and he now is someone that knows a little bit of everything, and that's just all come from him having the desire to learn. And my mom, when my brother and I were growing up, despite herself not really knowing how to navigate the educational system here in the US, she made a point of making sure that my brother and I loved reading, and it succeeded. So she would take us to the library every week. We'd get a bunch of books. I'd turn them in late. I'd lose them. We she'd have to pay fines, and that never stopped her. And I don't know that I would be where I'm at if it wasn't for that. They always encouraged us to seek out any opportunities, and as far as they understood, they just tried to immerse us as well in that world. Um, and that definitely still sticks with me today.
Wow. So reading those books at night with my son is worth it, to
It
encourage him.
is.
Yeah,
He's
that's
gonna he's
cool.
gonna come to appreciate it for sure.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of the library books that I think I've had for like a month now. I'm like, I hope they auto renewed. But yeah, that's
Now they're
cool.
That's a benefit we have now that they auto renew. Sure wasn't the case then.
Wow. Well, that's so cool that you've had so much support from your parents. Yeah. Well, what made you take the plunge, like to sign up to actually get the doctorate? Because sounds like a big step. It would be scary for me to do that, I think. What what prompted you?
Yeah, you're not alone. I think we hear so many PhD slash academia horror stories that, I think it's definitely a little bit of a negative light on it. In my case, as I was finishing up my master's program in counseling, I knew that this would be a step I would take. But it's one of those things that you kind of put on the back shelf, more so of, I know I want to do that. Kind of like how men tell themselves they're going to buy themselves a motorcycle at some point, or like a sports car. That's kind of like my PhD for me, where I was thinking at some point, I'll go and I'll get that, but I didn't know the logistics. I didn't know how it would happen, when it would happen. And as I was finishing up, I told myself, okay, I've heard about the experiences that people have at Divine Mercy University. I did my program at the University of St. Thomas and I loved it. But what I really liked about Divine Mercy, based on other people's experiences, was that it just seems to integrate Catholic faith a lot more than my program did. And it really centered the program around the faith. And so I decided, okay, well, if Divine Mercy ever does a PhD program in counseling, education, and supervision, I'll take that as my sign, or I'll kind of take my lead there to go and apply and see what happens. And of course, all the while, it'd been a praying process, it'd been a discernment process, just because I also wanted to make sure that this is truly where God was leading me. Lo and behold, they released, for lack of a better term, they opened their PhD program, I want to say 2 years ago. And it just happened to be a really good spot in my life, too, where logistically it made sense. And at that point, I had no choice but to go down that road because I talked the talk and I told God I would do it. And and so I did, and it's been great.
Wow, that's crazy. So you're like, oh, the Lord came through. I better do it too.
Exactly. It's like, oh, hooray, here it is.
So, well, we had somebody ask a question of any suggestions about discerning a doctoral program. Perhaps what were you looking for in a program? It sounds
Mm,
like you already knew what you were kind of looking for.
yes, absolutely. That's a great question. So on my end, ever since I started, for context, I started out at Rejoice as an intern. I did the first part of my internship at Fort Bend Women's Center, which is an agency for those individuals that have suffered abuse. But the second part of my training, I was at Rejoice. I had selected to do my program at University of St. Thomas because I was under the impression that it would be very Catholic based. Not so much, but I still loved it, right? But just being at Rejoice and being able to incorporate my faith to this extent, I think it was a no brainer for me at that point. There's no way that I can do any other level of higher ed and not have it incorporate tenets of the faith, or at the very least have this as a solid integration. So when I was looking for my program, that's why I kind of set my sight on DMU, because I saw that they were out here being more authentically Catholic than a lot of the other universities that I had seen. So that plus the flexibility. So I would suggest to anyone seeking to do a PhD program is, first of all, you are interviewing the program and the faculty as much as they're interviewing you. So whenever you are looking for a program, you're going to want to make sure that they're a good fit for you, right? We don't want to just fall into the first person that's interested in us, because these are going to be individuals that are going to be behind you this whole process. They're going to be the ones that are backing you, that are supporting you, that are even helping you form the identity of the person that you want to be in whatever capacity you're seeking to grow in. So I think that you're going to want to select the university that seems to uphold certain values or key values that you yourself have for the way that you want to live your life, or just in general the professional you're seeking to become.
That is a great suggestion, Cindy. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, what is the structure of the DMU Counselor Education and Supervision Doctorate?
So their program is a little fun. They like to and I say that because they are doing their program in a quicker pace than a lot of other programs are accustomed to doing it. So you hear about people doing their PhD and you hear about like 4 year, 6 year or so timelines. But the DMU program is aimed to have you finish in around 2 years, 9 months. So yeah, you're really going hard the whole time. And it's all set up online. You do have some asynchronous meetings, pardon me, synchronous virtual meetings, and it's set up so that you have a couple of what they call residencies in between, and that's like a 4 day stint of you being at the university. And when you're there, you're demonstrating some sort of competency. Because of the nature of this particular degree, you're kind of testing that you are competent across 5 areas, which is teaching, supervising, um, being a counselor, being a researcher, and grant writing, which is the one I think we all kind of forget about, if I'm being honest. Um, each residency will focus on one of those. And so you do something like 3 or 4, and that's pretty much your in presence requirement. So it's very flexible, all things considered, even with the quick timeline.
And you have to write a thesis, a doctoral thesis, do
You
you?
do a dissertation.
A dissertation, then defend it.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Very cool. Yes, it's a real deal doctoral program
Yeah, the whole nine.
on steroids because you get it done in 2 years
On,
and 9 months. So.
yeah, very much on steroids. 100%.
No, but that's cool because some people drag it out like 6 years, 8 years. I mean, a long time if you don't have the support right in the dissertation. So, yeah.
No, you're very right. And I would say too that part of it is, like I mentioned, for me, I'm in a blessed position where I can knock it out in that time. I mean, obviously, I'm my own worst enemy, so I'll get in my way. I get creative, but I'm not supposed to, and I'm not. But I'm just saying, like, the time works out so that right now there aren't any other big impediments. So it's doable, and we have people in our program that are full-time parents, full-time spouses, full-time employees. So it's they're also living it out and showing that it can be done.
Wow. What are you writing on? Do you know your dissertation topic already?
Yes, I do. Yeah, yeah. So I'm glad I get to unveil it here. So my dissertation topic is exploring attachment across first, second, and third generations of Hispanic American young adults, which is a mouthful. So if I had to boil it down, essentially attachment style, we're looking at insecure attachment, particularly for my dissertation. So more anxious or more avoidant. And we are looking into our first generation Hispanic American, more anxious and more avoidant than, say, others that have had more time to acclimate to the country and the customs and the values.
That's going to be so cool.
It's
That'll
going to be
that'll
fun.
yeah, it's going to provide new information on a specific population, which I'm guessing you identify with pretty strongly. Wink, wink.
Yeah, wink. No surprise there. Yeah, truly. I think that kind of blends in a little bit with my reason for wanting to do this too, and even jumping into the profession is I never wanted to get into the counseling profession, or even now at this point get into like the academia sphere and leave to or leave behind my upbringing, like my culture. I never wanted to have that without my grasp, and so naturally I feel that with this dissertation, um it's almost like a way for me to help bring a little bit more exposure to that experience, right? So if these are individuals, thank God, that are becoming a little bit more comfortable seeking help, seeking counseling. We're seeing that. I know you're seeing that as well in your own counseling sessions. And so it's a way to almost say, well, what are they experiencing really? How can we best meet them? What should we be prepared for? What should we know in advance when we're getting ready to work with this population? Now, granted, I have been told this is not going to be my magnum opus. I believe it, nor am I trying for it to be, but it is just a way to make this a little bit more meaningful to me. Um, we're encouraged, like, just knock it out, get it done. But at the same time, I'm putting the time in it, and it has to have personal meaning for you to do a PhD, for you to do a dissertation, right? It's not going to be the culmination of your life's work. And boy, I don't want to peak at this age. That would not be fun. But it's a way for you to just kind of even open the door to what you want to experience and work with later on.
That's awesome, Cindy. Yeah, keeping it in perspective that it doesn't have to be perfect. It's not going to be the best thing you ever did in your entire life and you peaked and now everything else is gravy. Yeah, keep the
Exactly.
pressure off. That's so cool.
Yes.
Yeah. So somebody in the audience shared that they're getting ideas on how to handle the doctorate and nurse practitioner program and to balance the work and life and school once she starts next year. So yeah, I think we could do a whole nother webinar on like work-life balance, especially
Oh,
for,
self care.
yeah, for sure. For sure.
I love that. But whoever it is in the audience, you can absolutely do this. You are definitely more capable of this than you think. My big piece of advice is please take care of yourself. Take care of your basic needs. That's something that I have to do in my own experience. Just every now and again, I feel myself becoming overwhelmed. There's a big chance I'm not taking care of at least one of my basic needs. So it calls for us to really simplify to the smallest degree as much as we possibly can the rest of your life, right? So make sure you're eating, make sure you're something, right? It doesn't have to be this grand, elaborate meal, but eat something, drink something, stay hydrated, make sure you're getting restful sleep. It doesn't have to be like the best 8 hours, 9 hours, but try to unplug, things like that.
Yeah, it sounds like our audience really wants help balancing life, right?
Me too.
Me too, man. Me too.
We're all doing our best, right?
Yes. Yep. Working part-time hours, school full-time, and enjoying family time.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Something I heard recently was recognizing that maybe I have a time where I'm going to need to dedicate more to something, one area, right? So, say right now it's school. Like you guys are all in these PhD or in these doctoral programs, and so I'm needing to dedicate more of a chunk to school. So that means I'm going to have less of my reserves to dedicate to the other things, and that's going to be okay for a time because I know that this is time limited. And then
Exactly.
I promise myself, and I have to hold to that promise, right? That when this is over or done, I will dedicate maybe more family time, go on a long family vacation, do something to take a rest, take a break, right? Um, yeah, and work is always going to be there. That's the thing that I'm getting to realize. Like, it'll be there tomorrow, you know.
Yes,
It will
that's a
be there
great
tomorrow.
point. Yeah, it'll be there right where you left it. That same tab is still open, those same emails and then some are still going to be there. But there are some things that you just can't miss, right? Especially as a mom and your experience.
Well, Cindy, we're about at time to wrap up. We've decided to make these webinars under 30 minutes.
I
So,
love that for you. Look at that boundary setting.
yeah, well, we're hoping it'll fit in more people's lunch hour, if we keep it short.
Totally.
So,
Yeah.
if if you had something to say to someone who would like to do a doctoral program or would like to study higher education or has some dream or goal that they have not gotten to yet, what would be some words of wisdom that you'd like them to walk away with?
So, I love that you've kind of opened up the conversation to include more than just individuals that are seeking to do their PhD or seeking to do higher ed. There is a high chance that you are wildly underestimating what you're capable of doing. I think that all of us have that little voice in our heads that are going to tell us that there's something missing, right? Almost like an arrival fallacy situation where maybe if I was more intelligent, I'd be able to do it. Maybe if I was younger, I'd be able to do it. Maybe if I had more money, I would be able to do it. All of those are valid concerns, and I see why you believe that, but you are more capable than you think, and you never really know it until you're in that setting. One thing that I think exists and lives within all of us just by nature of being human that we underestimate is just human curiosity. And human curiosity is something we can all lean into and will take us a long way. Human curiosity is what's going to lead you to develop that topic, right? What are you curious about, just even in your surroundings? And human curiosity is going to be what gets you to defend successfully your dissertation. It's going to be what gets you to think about what your life would look like if you were a doctor, if you were a teacher, if you were a nurse, if you were whatever it is that you're wanting to become, right? If for you it's money, if that's your motivation, then what would it look like for you to live in that dream house? What would it look like for you to be able to travel all over the world? Curiosity is definitely fuel for this journey. And another piece of advice that I have for people is if you want to prove it to yourself that you have the capacity to learn and pick this up, think about any time that you have picked up a new interest, right? And you just dive into it. You're wanting to learn more. You suddenly know all there is to know about it, the history, who are the experts. I'm going to use an example, Formula One, because that's been one of my, I love Formula One. It's been one of my latest interests that I've picked up in the past year. But again, what did I do once I really started to watch Formula One? I found out who's in it, what are the teams, what are the rules, what are the changes. And I think that's something that I hear so many people talk about, right? They start following a football team, they start following a soccer team, they go and they travel to this country. So now they want to know their history. They picked up this hobby, right? And you're always looking for ways to get better and improve. You suddenly are into um, cooking. So you're going to pick up all your cookbooks and you're going to look online for recipes. There's an element of that that already exists within us. And it's just a matter of tuning that towards this area, the professional area, the academic area, but that base skill is already in all of us, I would say. And I would just encourage people to use that to lead them to whatever they want for their future, whatever it is that they envision. And the limitations are not as great as they seem.
Thanks so much for your encouraging words, Cindy, and we are prayerful that you will finish your dissertation in your 2 years and 9 months. And if you need
we will.
Let us know. But we're proud of you for taking that step, taking the plunge. Thank y'all for joining us today.
Thank y'all.